In the days before prison reforms began in Kenya under the late Moody Awori, the only means of transport for inmates and prison staff that were escorting inmates were closed lorries called Miriam. I don't know the origins of the name. Under the reforms, Kenya Prison Service bought buses to transport inmates to and from courts and other prisons. First of all, don't give much heed to the name given to the buses, Moody Hopper, like City Hopper, because though the buses were meant to give inmates a better, comfortable ride while sitting down, there are two immediate drawbacks that aren't visible to people who have never been a part of the prison system. Prison officers who are escorting inmates are also on the bus, and if you have been watching my videos, you'll know that they think they are God, since they're at the top of the food chain within the prison system. So they obviously want to sit down, and inmates are supposed to stand like sardines in a can. Though some prisons, like Committee Maximum Security Prison, has more than one bus and lorry, the officer in charge obviously would like to cut corners. So even on days that there are lots of inmates that are supposed to be going to court, a number that would certainly make Kenya police stop any bus carrying so many people, only one bus would be allocated to do the ferrying. This means that though there would logically be fuel allocated for two buses, only one would be used and the other would go into someone's pocket. Then there's the issue of security. These buses are not armor plated, so if a real criminal or terrorist, I say real terrorist because I don't think any terrorist who has been trained thoroughly would escape from prison and go where they were arrested, like the three that escaped about 5 years ago. The only real terrorist, in my opinion, Kenyan authorities have ever arrested is Jermaine Grant. So if they really want to escape, all they have to do is neutralize the officers in the front and the back of the bus, and the rest would be sitting ducks. You see, no firearms are supposed to be accessible in any compartment where a prisoner or group of prisoners could overpower the firearm holder, the officer. So the designers created a cage within the bus with seats for four firearm bearing officers at the back and six at the front, four back, six front. The rest of the wardens are stuck with the inmates without any firearms for protections. All a clever person has to do is make arrangements for them to be taken out. As it is, the officers with firearms wouldn't stand any chance because there is not enough room to move around to cock their guns, and knowing they'll end up shooting each other anyway. The least that they should do is armor plate the buses. Now let's look at different types of prison transport in the 21st century across the world. This is a prison transport van in the UK. Every inmate is holed up in a tiny closet-like holding compartment called a sweatbox. The van is armor plated and tracked by GPS all the time. There's no GPS in Kenya prison service buses. Most importantly, the transport is outsourced with strict regulations on the service that is meant to be provided to the inmates. For example, if a trip is more than 3 hours, the inmate in transit should be provided with food and given a toilet break. Not surprisingly, there is a toilet inside the van and a microwave to heat up the food. In Kenya, if this service were to be outsourced, someone with clout would register a company, bid solely at exorbitant rates, be awarded the tender contract without proving they possess any proficiency or experience in the field. Then I'd expect them to buy the buses at a throwaway price that already Kenya Prisons owns, make minor superficial changes, then have them approved and licensed. Oh yeah, on the matter of food, there's something I have remembered When inmates go to court in Kenya, they aren't allowed to eat any food brought to them by friends, family, relatives instead. Instead, every prison inmate is given a can of baked beans and a packet of biscuits that is meant to be shared between two inmates. These dry rations, as they're called, are eaten cold in cold cells where an inmate can spend up to 10 hours. Remember, all holding cells in Kenyan courts are located in the basement. There are a lot of inmates all over the world who have been incarcerated because of drugs. There was an inmate who would spend some time in South African prisons in the 90s, and he told me, I met him in Kenyan prisons, and he told me that the transport system in South Africa was similar to the UK. In Nigeria, they have a similar transport system for prisoners like Kenya. But as a country, we want to compete with those at the bottom or those at the top. In Kenya, taxes are similar to Europe, but we get services like worse than Somalia at times. So what do we want? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe. Ask any questions you may have about the prisons in the Republic of Pluto.